Hello, fellow gamers. Cryptic Panther back with another Beyond the Games content creator interview. This time we're going large. We're going international. We are crossing more time zones than I could count. We're talking to Sega Master Tim.
Yeah, g'day, and it's Sega.
What did I say?
Sega.
Sega.
You said Sega. Just for the listeners out here, Australians call Sega. We do.
My apologies.
No, it's one thing that us Aussies get. Always a topic of conversation when it comes to gaming. We say Sega, and it's simply because it was this ad that first came out advertising the Sega SG-3000. And so the announcer gets on TV in the backdrop, in the background, and he starts describing it as Sega. So ever since that day, that's the only way that we've known to call it. But today's kids all call it Sega, and we have to sit there and correct them and go, no, it's Sega.
Well, growing up, it's Sega to me. So we're gonna have So it's Sega Master Tim from Melbourne, Australia.
Yes, yeah. And not Melbourne. Not Melbourne. It's Melbourne.
Melbourne.
I'm a regular guest on one of these other shows down in San Diego, and it's a running joke. And you North Americans, you call it Melbourne.
I did not say Melbourne. I did not say that.
No, there was born. I heard some born.
There was a little bit there. There was a little bit there. No. There was a little bit. So this interview is just starting out just wonderfully. It called you the wrong name and insulted where you're from. This couldn't get any worse, I don't think. Right there, Johnny. I'll start calling you the wrong name altogether here. We're not even going to bother calling you Tim anymore. Oh,
no. Wow. Well, it's after 9. It's after 9, so you couldn't call me Sharon.
Okay. All right. Damn, we missed the cutoff.
There's an intro for you.
Off the rails. Not even 10 seconds in and we're off the rails. I love it.
Beautiful. That's the way I like it.
All right. So I've been following this individual on Twitter for a little while now, and he posts a lot of retro gaming polls. And about like which setup, which room, etc. looks better. And I'm gonna link his Twitter is gonna be in the description for you to go back and check it out and follow this gentleman on Twitter. So a little bit different than my other interviews is content creation, because your content creation is pretty much on Twitter. Yeah. So you're posting these polls, but you do have an interesting history and an interesting passion here. So that's kind of like where most of this interview is going to probably center around. Like I said, this is Beyond the Games. We talk about everything. Content creation can be pretty much anything these days. So this is where we're at. This is a stopping point today. Is the content on Twitter. So you were a former Sega games counselor.
Very good.
It's going to be difficult for me to remember to say that. I'm going to call you Sega again a couple more times. I guarantee you.
No, it doesn't bother me. Yes, that's right. That was my job. I was a Sega games counselor. Or our actual titles were Sega Masters. So that's why my handle for Twitter is Sega Master Tim. That was my actual title. I was Sega Master Tim. Yeah. And that's what I did. I did this back in the early 90s, and I did it for about 5 years, working for Sega. Initially, it was called Sega Aussie Soft, but then Sega bought them out. Probably, I think it was 1989. Yeah, so then they just became Sega. And yes, I had one hell of a time for 5 years doing my very first job. Helping people with games, writing video game reviews for magazines, and reading through fan mail, and just getting some really weird and amazing calls too on the offside. So
well, here's a caveat to that. I've worked in a couple different jobs doing help desk support, from a billing support to tech to sadly AT&T telephone support. That was a nightmare. And now I do tech, and I mean that's tech support and like help desk stuff has been kind of been my job for the last number of years in different roles. So now what kind of, I can imagine, what kind of interesting phone calls would you receive regarding video games?
Okay, so the most interesting one I've had was a guy couldn't get his Mega Drive / Genesis out of the box. That was really interesting, and I thought I misheard him. Maybe he couldn't get it out of a car, or maybe he couldn't get it out of, I don't know. But anyway, I had to check with him, and he goes, "Oh," and he was absolutely pissed off. So I want to get me Mega Drive out of the box. I go, "What do you mean you can't get it?" "I can't get it out." And if I don't know if anyone who's actually still got one of these consoles still with the boxing, you'll notice that there's industrial strength glue used. All right. And my assumption is that there might have just been a little bit more than your usual amount. And I said, "Oh, well, maybe you can just use a knife and cut through it." "Oh, no, I don't want to damage the box and that." So he's trying to keep it in mint condition, I was assuming. So I'm trying to reason with him with all these things that he's getting. I said, "Look, maybe you can just cut through, just go through the." "No, don't." And the more I tried reasoning with him, the more cheesed off he got, and he ended up calling me a blankety blank and hung up on me. And I mean, I think that was the pinnacle of weirdest calls I'd ever got. Just, yeah, I don't know.
So to this day, we don't know if this individual ever got his Mega Drive out of the box.
Well, somebody once told me that maybe it's in mint condition now, worth over $1,200.
Minted box. It's a minted box Mega Drive.
Never been opened, guaranteed.
So if he happens to be a listener, like, what are the chances that how many years now into the future this individual is still sitting there with this Mega Drive in the box? He can't get over. If you're listening, please leave a comment. please reach out to one of us on Twitter. Please send us a picture of this Mega Drive box with this that is unopenable. I would love to see that.
He'll probably troll me, and I'll have to block him. He just seemed like an unreasonable person as a whole.
Wow, that's incredible.
But the other cool calls that we got is just like the kids would try and make an excuse to call us up, but really all they wanted to do is just talk to us. So they tell us how much they love Sega and Sonic and how much they hate Nintendo. So you got to remember, this is during the console wars.
The first console war.
Yes. Yeah, and they just send us stuff and they tell us what they're playing and that. And that was the other cool part of the job as well. Just hearing kids, and as I always like to say, lonely housewives, giving us a call and just wanting to chat. So yeah, that was the cool thing. And they try and get something out of us, like "Oh, is this game going to come out? Oh, I heard that," and they thought we were like, we knew everything that was going on in Sega, and clearly we didn't, because we weren't like a headquarters of that. But yeah, and it's quite funny because some of the things that the kids would say or ask, like, "Oh, is Mortal Kombat coming out on the Mega Drive?" I heard that it is, and we didn't know whether it was or not, and we also didn't think that it could. But yeah, sure enough, it did, because we just thought at the time the graphics were just way too superior for any console to take up. But no, that all came true. So yeah, urban myths became reality for some kids. Yeah.
Interesting. So you
Yeah.
said you answered phone calls, people were calling you with
Yep.
questions, mostly on games, like how do I get past this or that? Is that what?
Yep.
So you
Yeah,
did.
that's basically it. Yeah. So the way we worked was well, first of all, we had this database in front of us, and it was something that the word is that this is something that none of the other countries had. None of them used a full proper database. A lot of people, a lot of the game counseling channels out there were all paper based, where they had to look through manuals and all that. And everything that we had was text based put onto a database. Okay, so we relied on that. And look, we had to know a lot about games offhand, just off the top of our heads. But there'd be some really tricky questions, and look, you can't be the best at everything, so that's why you would rely on a database to get into the deeper parts of the game to help the callers out. There were also some of the other Sega Masters were probably more skilled in certain areas. So, like Sega Master Tim, he loved these RPGs. And when I say Sega Master Tim, that's the other Tim. Yeah, so everyone had their genre of game that they had that they were skilled in and very well versed in. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's what we used to do. Yeah.
So you said you also done like game reviews and stuff
Yeah.
for magazines.
Yes, that's right. So there was a magazine in Australia called Megazone. I think there was about 70 editions. That's just correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 70, but yeah, that's just off the top of my head. And at first it was an independent magazine, but then Sega then bought it out eventually. So what happened was that all the game reviews quickly switched over to just Sega games as a whole. So for the Mega Drive, Master System, Game Gear, you name it, it was on that. Yeah, and so we did reviews for those. I did a couple of walkthroughs for it as well. I did a walkthrough for Flashback and Rocket Knight Adventures. And you know, we get paid $50 at the time to do these reviews. So back then, $50 was worth a fair bit. But also when I did those game reviews, so not the game reviews, the game walkthroughs, they took a lot out of you because, especially Flashback, though I had a good understanding of the game, they asked me to do a walkthrough with like, well, they said, can you play it tonight and then have it ready for the publisher the next day? So I had to play the game back from the start to the end. I had to write down each step along the way. I fell asleep. I got about an hour's sleep. And then I woke up again, got to the publishers about 2 hours later, and I had to play the whole bloody thing again just to do the screenshots for the mapping for the presentation in the magazine. And I mean, to do a screenshot back then is nothing like what you do now. You know, like today, you just push a button and then that's it. What you had to do was get the camera and have it focused on the screen, and then you had to black out everything around it to stop any any lights from coming in. And every shot would take at least 3 minutes to do. And then sometimes I don't get it right the first time round, so we do it again and again. So I did about a 10-hour day that day and went home and collapsed. So yeah.
Wow,
But I still only got paid $50 for it.
that is brutal. I
Yeah.
just thinking back to the articles like in magazines and stuff that I remember seeing like from games when I was younger, like just they're not even cluing in the work that would go into them now. I mean, all you need is even a halfway decent PC, you know, and like if you're playing like a Steam game like F12, screenshot, or on consoles they all have screenshot buttons now, like Switch and everything else. Like, yeah, it is crazy to think what would have gone into.
Oh, it
like
took
the playthrough and
man.
article stuff would still be identical, but just the capture of images, I never even thought of that.
That's it.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think, geez, if it was, if I was going to go back in time and see younger me, and if I saw that scenario play out again, like, you know, I'm about to finish work for the day. Hey Tim, can you do a walkthrough for Flashback? I'll sort of come up to myself and say, let somebody else do it, mate.
It ain't worth the $50.
Yeah, well, so it took two editions of the magazine to do the whole walkthrough for. So yeah, that's how. But I still only got paid $50 flaming bloody dollars for it. It was so long. Oh God, never again. Yeah. Sorry, you're gonna ask.
So if I was to ask you to do a game review, I'd probably get told off then, I guess.
Yeah.
Even if I offered you $50, it'd still be take a hike. All right.
Let's make that 500.
Wow. This podcast really has to start. This podcast has to start doing really well for me to.
But I thought doing that walkthrough, like I'd finish it and all that, and many other Sega Masters. We were at a convention last year, and we were doing our talk, and I brought up the same story, and this guy, his name was Nathaniel, and he goes, "You're the guy." I go, "What do you mean you're the guy?" "You're the guy that wrote the walk." Thank you so much. So this was like 25 years after I wrote the walkthrough, and he's like, "Oh, thank you so much for doing that." I'm thinking, geez, I finally got a thank you after 25 years.
That's all it takes. Just 25 years. That's great.
And
wow.
I've never had somebody come up to me about it before, and I'm like, my mind was blown at the time. But yeah, that's what makes me happy, is like looking back and knowing that you did somebody to make their day easier, you know, and helping someone out, and after all these years they come up and say thank you. It's amazing. It's great.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So with that on, you know, on your top of the part of your career that like, you were doing content creation before people knew what content creation was for the gaming industry, you know. I mean, like those type of walkthroughs and stuff, those were like, I mean, there was never anything like it, you know. Really, there wasn't much out there in the way of walkthroughs.
There wasn't. And that's what magazines were around for, to sort of put maybe some truth with the schoolyard rumors, because the only way you could really find out about cheats if you weren't calling us up on the hotline was by hearing these schoolyard rumors about, oh, well, if you push this, that, and the other thing, this will happen. And so you go home, try it out, and of course it never works.
No.
Or you had these magazines, and you know, you're almost as old as what I am, and you sort of like sit there and you wait for the next edition to come out, wanting to know what the new games are coming out, and looking for those cheats as well, and those little codes. Yeah, those were the days. It was amazing back then. But nowadays it's just, you know, turn on a computer. Oh yeah, there it is. That's how I can get through it.
Yeah, just go to, you know, you pull up YouTube and type in, you know, how do I do, and you get like 38,000 videos to show you exactly how to do it. You know, it's like, you know, there's no waiting for a magazine. There's no, yeah, it's crazy, the walkthrough stuff. I mean, I've created a couple short little walkthroughs in my content creation days, but I mean, I've used them a lot. I mean, you get to a part of a game like this doesn't make any sense, or trophies are the bigger things, or achievements. Those are the kind of the big guides now. Like, I mean, I'll use those to like get to a point in the game going, all right, how do I get this stupid trophy again? Oh, I got to do that. So you go on to, YouTube. I'm sitting there in front of my PlayStation. I pull my phone up, So I mean, that's how it is now. But I could like just to think of how the way information was passed around the schoolyard for stuff, and there's no Hey Google back then, to tell you how to find all the answers. And my phone just acknowledged me saying that, and I apologize. And I apologize to anybody else's phone just happened to kick on there. I have my phone turned down, but to turn to the microphone, it still picks up everything I say because they're always listening.
And the funny thing is that I think the rumors are worse now. I mean, because everything's globalized, the rumors get a little bit more outlandish. Not in terms of, things you can do in a certain game, but more of what's coming out. What's the next step that this company is going to make and all that? Like the recent one was about Microsoft buying out Sega. I mean, come on. I get it, but everybody wants to see another Sega console. But sometimes you just gotta let it go, yeah, because once one person says something, it spreads like bloody wildfire.
Especially if that person has a few ears to speak to. Like, I mean, someone like me, I type in something ridiculous on Twitter, no one would see it. But I mean, someone that's got a massive following or happens to catch the right person's eye, it's like things take off and you hear these things everywhere.
Yeah, it's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
But then you get then after that you get one person says A, B, and C is happening, so then you get 58 YouTubers all making videos, all clickbait 11-minute long videos to like get everyone hyped up about this imaginary A, B, and C, whenever the game developer's going, what the hell is this? I've never heard of this. This makes no sense. Like, all of a sudden, like some crazy rumor, like, it's like Microsoft has finally bought Sony or something crazy. It's like, what? So 58 YouTubers have to make 11-minute videos with no information in them so that you can click on their videos. It's crazy. I think maybe we should go back to magazines. Maybe we need to get Tim back. We need to get Tim back doing our walkthroughs in magazines once a month, and that's how we get all our information.
And deal with that, and just be happy with that, and then that will build up some more questions for the next edition. Maybe this will be. I don't know. It's just it's too easy these days to talk. Excuse the listeners out there, to make bullshit. Really.
For sure, it's real easy. And I mean, I'm not like saying that I am not one of the people to have ever picked up a rumor and talked about it. I mean, that's one thing. But anytime when in my previous podcasting career was we found this interesting article. It's filled with rumors. That was the first thing I'd ever say. Like this here is take it with a grain of salt. It's a lot of hearsay, a lot of rumor. So I'm just letting you know that this is out there. So you're not going to think you're see it somewhere else and it's gospel. So as long as someone's willing to put forward that, hey, I got this like second or third hand. It doesn't seem credible, but just to let you know, this kind of information is floating around out there. Like the last couple months with the upcoming launch of the new graphics cards, I don't know how much you're following that, but the rumors about Nvidia and the rumors about AMD, and it just been crazy. And then all of a sudden now with the two new consoles, like the crazy rumors that were here and there about that, and it's like people need to be spoon-fed information now, and that just feeds into the rumor mill. So like that's the worst part of it.
Yeah, so. A rumor will stay a rumor until it's fact. Right. Okay, I think I would have thought that people would have learnt this from years ago, like many rumors, but everybody loves a good rumor, don't they? It's almost like they're hoping for something, you know.
Well, I mean, especially if the news cycle's a little quiet, and all of a sudden, oh, we got these big rumors. It definitely, it definitely takes off. But I remember, back when we get back a bit on topic a bit, like the schoolyard. I remember, the up, down, left, right, A, B, start, select codes, those type of things. I remember all those from the the early Nintendo days and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's cool that stuff's still around, but too bad now it's almost blown up on such a scale now that it's almost mind numbing. I mean, back then it was only you and your small group of friends. Now it's you and people from all over the world.
That's right. That's right. No, I just like I like not the rumors, but I like the things that people find out about games years after they've been released. Like maybe hidden rooms or reasoning, stories behind why they put certain characters in or did certain things, or how they came up with the decision-making process, why they put something in the game or that. So I really like that sort of stuff. Well, many years after the game's been released, and they find these weird little things about the games, and it just makes those games more interesting. They're not rumors, they're facts. But yeah, I like that sort of stuff. Just don't like a rumor, because they stay as rumors.
Exactly. I 100% agree with you. So now your career went from being a games counselor, and you have a different career path now. It's not in the gaming world itself. Your career you have now.
No,
mentioned
it helps.
You're still helping people. You're still helping people. You're not helping people. Not helping people with video games anymore. But but you have a passion for. You're easily told by just scrolling through your Twitter. You have a passion for food as well. But we're gonna touch back on more on the gaming. You have a passion for retro games as kind of your passion.
Yes.
This is I like your bio says you're now living a relic of the '90s video game era. But the thing is too, though, you look at the resurgence for those the smaller little consoles, the little retro consoles that have made a big splash on the gaming market. Like retro stuff is big, and
it is.
As someone that grew up with it, some of those games hold like a really fond spot in my heart, I guess, so to speak, for some of the stuff I grew up playing and stuff. There was a lot of games I played, when I was a child and through my younger years. But what maybe is some of the retro games that maybe are top of your list?
What what are the retro games that?
Like some of the retro, some of the ones that maybe are. Are like the holy grail of your retro gaming collection, and or the ones that in other words, you thinking back, like that was my favorite game of that genre or that time period.
Yeah. Well, I think the way I look at games from the past is what impact they had on my life. Okay, so the first game that comes to mind is Elite for the C64. That was mind-blowing when it first came out. And guys, if you don't know what Elite is, I think you should look into it, because they've now got an open universe of Elite. It's basically like space trading, piracy, mercenary type of game. You can make the game what you want it to be. And when the game first came out, it was absolutely amazing, because here we're talking about polygons, 3D polygons on a computer screen, and nobody had seen anything like that, especially not on a unit like a C64, Commodore 64. So that game blew my mind. The other game, and people might find this a bit weird, but the game that opened up blew my mind as well was when the first game I saw on the Master System, which was Transbot. Now this game came with the console, but when I first saw that game, I'm looking at the colors, I'm looking at the graphics, and I'm thinking, this is like an arcade. This is amazing. And if I didn't see that console, if I didn't see that game, I wouldn't have driven so hard to try and get a job with Sega. So Transbot has a special place in my heart. Obviously Sonic the Hedgehog, because, well, Sega. My employer, my former employer. Another great game I love is on the NES, and that's RC Pro-Am. The physics of that game, the sort of arcade style about it too. It's quick, it's fun. You have to have your wits about you. Yes, I love that game as well. And then just think of any arcade classic as well. So whether it's your Galaga, Pac-Man, though I suck at it, Donkey Kong, all those classic games that you'd find in the arcades. Gauntlet, for example. Playing that game. And I've got a MAME cab, so I can play all these classics in next to no time. And that's every time I get on my main cabinet, I also have to sort of remind myself, this is amazing, because when I was a kid, I could never imagine seeing these big cabinets in the arcade and being able to play them at home, let alone play all the games in the arcade center all on one cabinet. So yeah, anything from the arcades I love as well. Yeah, so yeah, that they're my go-tos. Bring fond memories.
Commodore 64 brings back memories.
Oh,
we had a Commodore. I think it actually is still in my parents' basement. I believe they still have it over there, along with some of the other old retro consoles, the Atari and stuff like that. They have them over at the house, and I'm if I had a spot in my house, I mean, I'd have to take my downstairs TV room, and I could probably, put up some. I don't know if I'd ever hook them all back up, because I'd like to just display them. Would be a cool piece of artwork, because I mean that's my childhood. Commodore 64, California Games was probably one of the games I spent so much time playing.
Hacky sack.
Surfing. Remember the surfing?
Oh yes, yeah. I was actually playing that last year on a Lynx. One of the guys brought it in, and we linked them all up, and we were playing California Games and surfing. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool, man.
You mentioned some games like Gauntlet from the arcade, and just the memories of hanging out with my friends over at my friend's house, which oddly enough is the house I actually own now. The house I live in was as a child growing up, was my childhood friend's home. After many, many years down and many owners in between, I actually own the house. I used to sit in the living room in this house. Yeah, I used to sit in the living room in this house that I live in right now, and we'd spend like hours playing like Nintendo and it's crazy.
That is weird. Okay. At least you knew what you were getting when you bought it.
I knew the areas where I grew up. So, but just speaking like retro gaming, because I mean, not everyone's into retro games, and I'll admit it. There's times that I'm you know, I mean, everyone has this hard focus on retro games, and I'm thinking like, you know, and that the talk of backwards compatibility comes up a lot with the, you know, new generations of consoles, and I'm thinking there's too many new games to play. I don't have time to play old games. But
Oh,
then,
that's right.
but then, like, you know, when you're talking about the memories of playing these games, I would love to have like one of those arcade cabinets with a boatload of arcade games in it that I grew up playing, because I could never stand there and afford to pump in quarters all day long. So now that now that I don't have to put the quarters in, I'd be able to play some of those games for long periods of time. So
that's it. No, I bought it's something I always wanted was the main cabinet, but I don't have the technical know-how on how to build one. You know, call me old-fashioned, but there's some things I just don't want, or some things I'm too scared of doing. And I'm not a carpenter, so I can't build cabinets either. So I went the easy route and paid somebody who actually made them. And I got one shipped down from Queensland, which is like over 1,000 kilometers away, you know, 2,000 kilometers away. But the great thing about it is that it didn't cost me a cent, because I had a period there where I was doing a lot of online poker, and I had all this money, and I didn't know what to really do with it. And then I thought, oh, hang on, I've always wanted a cabinet. And sure enough, I bought it. So it hasn't cost me anything to get it. It cost me about $1,500 to get it. But yeah, I don't regret it. Loved every minute of playing that flame thing. It's great.
And speaking of retro games, you had mentioned pre podcast that you collect a lot of games, and if anyone is, if you're listening to this, you already should be on Tim's Twitter checking his stuff out. By the way, listen to this and peruse his Twitter. He's got some interesting posts. So, do you want to talk about some of your collections and what kind of what led you into, I guess, the pathway to where you are now with the collection of retro gaming stuff?
Well, it's not something I've been doing for donkeys. That's for starters. I didn't realize there was such a passion for retro gaming up until about 3 years ago, where I, by chance, heard of a retro gaming market, and I thought, in town here in Melbourne, I thought I'll check it out. But what I was amazed by was the number of people that were there, the number of stalls that were there, and then the conversations I heard between people, and both young and old people, where there's this connection there where the kids would be asking questions about games, and then the older generation would say, oh, well, I used to play this, or oh, this is what the story behind this game is. And so it was from that moment I thought, oh, maybe I should pull out my current collection and build on that. And so what I've done most weekends from that point is that I go to all the charity shops and I look around for little treasures here and there. And I think every now, I'm not saying that you find some of the greatest games, but every now and again you find a diamond in the rough. And my brother helps me out here as well. Now, I can't go anywhere at the moment. I haven't been able to go anywhere for 6 months, so I can't do any searching of that. But my brother lives up in the country with mum, and he was in a town the other day, and he gives me a call and he goes, oh, what do you think of this? And the game was selling for $2. It was Pokemon Sapphire Emerald or that. Apparently the game goes for something like $50. I'm going, well, you've got to get that, mate. So yeah, so I have my brother help me out. So he'll send those down. It's just the joy of collecting and then finding out the stories about them. And then And then whenever I get around to it, I can eventually play them. Okay, so yeah, I just like the collecting the stories, and it just looks nice on the shelf, doesn't it? You know, like you get a room full of games, and you just go, yeah, that's just awesome. You know, visually having that visual reminder that you've got that game. You can't sort of get that unfortunately with online gaming, you know, where you buy everything off what is it, Steam and what's the other one, Epics, is that right? I can't
Right.
remember
Yeah.
now.
PC,
Yeah.
PC game. Yeah.
Um
Digital
yeah,
content.
it just doesn't have that same feeling, the tactile feel, picking it up, opening up the case, seeing if there's a manual in it and all that. So yeah, I love collecting, and I'm so lucky that I actually came across that market too, because if I didn't go across that market, come across that market, I guess I wouldn't be on Twitter now talking about my times at Sega, because I think when I went to this market, yeah, that's right. So when I went to this market, I picked up Rocket Knight Adventures, and the guy goes, "That's a good game," and I go, "Oh, I know. I wrote the walkthrough for it." And what? I said, yeah, I work for Sega. So the next 30 minutes, my poor wife is, you know, losing her will to live, because this is not really interesting her at all. And I'm talking, oh, you were, yeah, that's what I did. And then his buddy would come, this guy worked for Sega, and I didn't realize there was um uh such a longing, such a love for Sega, and what it was like back in the 90s. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. Maybe I might need to take this a little bit further. So, and here I am. So, yeah. No, I love collecting. I love it.
Yeah,
I
like I
love it.
said, on your pinned tweet is the shot of you, little video clip of you, and the shot of some of your collection in the background. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm proponent. I do like digital purchasing, for some reasons, and I do like. I just happened to glance over, and I have a small shelf in my office where I
Yeah.
have some of my PlayStation 4 titles sitting there. And I looked over as you were talking about having them, and I'm like, I remember buying that and opening it up and
Yeah.
looking inside, looking at the disc, and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of people that still, even though, you know, it's not retro, people are still into that. You know, the physical media, like hold it in my hand, and I get
Yeah.
it. And I'm also a proponent for digital as well, and like I have both, and I'm not hardcore one way or the other, but it's the retro stuff. Because to me, it looks cool, and like it brings back the memories from growing up. And I mean, as someone who grew up
Mm.
in you know, with video games, as they've come across, you know, I didn't step into, you know, a PlayStation. I played, you know, Atari. I played, you know, Atari 600. I played Commodore 64. You know, so looking at your collection, I'm like, oh man, that is some cool stuff. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, that let, you know, with you on your Twitter, your constant posts of the room battles, I guess you could call
Oh,
them.
yes.
Like, how did that become a thing for you? Like, that's kind of the one that's how I kind of found you on Twitter, and it started from
Oh,
there. So how did these room battles, we'll call them, I don't know if you have a title for them or not, but
yeah.
how
Game
did,
room showdowns. I'm
yeah,
still
Game Room
trying to figure
Showdown,
out
like
what
how
the
did
name.
you come up with this idea?
Okay, so um it was about halfway through last year, and I saw I posted up, saw an image of this game room. It was just a whole shelf of consoles, and I mean, I'm going, geez, that's freaking amazing. Maybe I should share that. And when I shared it, I didn't realize where this would go. It ended up with like 1,500 likes over, oh, I think there was about over 200,000 impressions. And then people saying, that's an amazing collection. And where'd you find all these things? And then I realized people thought it was mine. And so the first lesson I learned about posting up images is that you have to put the credit in of the person, or else this conversation is going to be, all the credit's going to go to the wrong person. And I had to put up a video. I said, look, thank you for all the kind thanks and kind regards. It's not actually mine. But there it made me realize people love seeing these setups, and people have dreams of having their own setup. And I didn't actually have my own setup looking anything like that when I posted up that picture, because I always wanted to have a room myself. So every day I'd look for an image and I'd post it up. And it was, I think it was March this year. I think it was March. I hit 300. I did my 300th post of a room, and I thought, I got to do something with all these rooms. So I thought, why not create a battle out of all those 300 pictures? Because what I did is that I saved every image that I posted up before, and I numbered them all. So what I've done is that I've set up 12 brackets, each with 25 rooms, and we're going through the second round at the moment, and everybody just fights. You know, everybody votes for their favorite room. And I get some interesting comments. Some people won't vote for a room if there's not a CRT TV in it. Some that I think look like amazing rooms. Other people think that they're just showing off. Just get some great comments there. But everybody, you might see little conversations come from that. You know, like people ask, "Oh, what's that thing in there? What's that? What's that keyboard?" So I don't just do game rooms; I also do battle stations as well. So the difference between the two is, like, game rooms are like, it usually involves a collection where you got your big monitor and your and your consoles and that, whereas a battle station is just PC based. Right. Okay. Right. And so I've even got one. I do those as well. So I do battle stations as well, and I'm up to the 350th. No, I think I'm almost up to 400 with that. Okay, but yeah, and people have said, like, this gives me inspiration. This gives me ideas, and that's what I want to do. I want to try and inspire people to have some sort of idea what they want to do, and inadvertently, by looking through all the posting up all these game rooms, I created my own myself. So the shells that you see behind me, when I've got my pin post there lifting up Millie the sausage dog by surprise, me and my father-in-law built those shells ourselves, and people love the layout of it, because it's just basically a cupboard that I've taken out, like the railing up the top there to hang your clothes on, and I've just converted it into a shelving and storage unit. But then I've also filled up the room with some furniture from our great friends IKEA, because that's what everybody does. Everybody goes to IKEA for their gaming setups. So I've fixed them all up. Yeah, and now I've got my own little gaming room. So it's funny whenever when I had friends come around and they walk into the room and they may not be gamers, they're going, "What the hell is this? This is freaking amazing. This is cool." And my niece had come around to the house months ago as well for the first time in a long time. And when she saw all the games and she saw the MAME cabinet, I'm now her favorite uncle because of all this stuff. Because, oh, you're cool. So yeah, it's a fun hobby, and it's not just games. It's also iconology. as well. So little things that you can find from that time period, like I've still got my magazines from the 80s, you know, where you did all your reviews. I've had people send me stuff where I've got these figurines for Virtua Fighter. So you got what are their names? I think it's Sarah and Jeffrey. You know, so I got them sitting on the side. I just find this random stuff and just plonk it everywhere. Yeah, it's just a fun hobby to have, and it's great to have your own little room. So if anybody's got the room to do it, do it. It's just fun, and it becomes a little bit addictive. It's not hoarding.
It's not hoarding.
Not hoarding.
You need to add that to your bio on Twitter. It's not hoarding. It's called collecting. Because I'm just playing it. Yeah, it's a hobby.
Yeah, I'm not at a point. I'm not at a point where I've run out of room, where I've got like another room full of games just stacked on top of each other. I'm not like that. I'm just at a happy size at the moment, and it's probably just as well that I've been in lockdown for 6 months, can't go anywhere, because I probably would have run out of room. So.
Your household's been saved by the pandemic. That's quite a tagline as well.
Yeah. But no. So doing those game rooms, it's great interaction with the community. People retweet them. Everybody just has fun with it. That's the whole idea. Just a bit of fun about it all. So, and sometimes I'll put up a room that is just an absolute joke. You know, it could be like a dodgy old laptop from the early thousands hooked up to one mouse, which is sitting on an ironing board. You know, rate my setup. Just a joke. Yeah. So yeah, they're all a laugh. But it's great fun to have. So I might do another showdown, but this time with the battle stations. I think that would be fun too. But I
definitely like to see some of those. I've been, like I said, perusing the Twitter reviews for a while, and some of those battle stations are so nice. I mean, my setup isn't worthy of the battle station, because it's not super clean. I don't have anything crazy, but I mean, I do have a cool looking triple monitor setup. I mean, I seem to have a monitor addiction, if you ask my wife. and the sad thing was, we actually were at a big computer shop not last week and the weekend before, and they had a 49-inch monitor, and I sat down because I had a display where you could actually play on it, like, to try it out. I said, it's only $1,400. She just looked at me. So I was talking to a friend of mine about it. Funny enough, like a couple days later, I was because he had ordered a new monitor, and he was telling me about it. I said, yeah, I seen this 49 widescreen curved. It was amazing. So I looked it up online so I could show him it was on sale. So I told my wife, I said, it's on sale now for $1,000. She just looked at me like, yeah, she knows I have this weird monitor addiction. I mean, I have 3 on my desk. I have 2 on my work desk. I have some old ones on the floor. Yeah, it's kind of a sad situation. So I'm collecting monitors. I don't collect retro gaming stuff. I collect monitors, apparently.
Okay.
So I'm a monitor showdown.
Don't know if that will catch on.
Probably. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it at all. I mean, the triple monitor setup I have 2 verticals and one in regular portrait. So, or in 2 verticals and a standard. So they come in handy when I'm doing a bunch of different things at once. I
had this. I was going to say I posted up one battle station, and I swear to God, I think there was like 12 monitors in it. 12. And I reckon he just uses it for Minesweeper. So it's just overkill.
My Minesweeper setup, I have 32 monitors. It's $7,000 computer to run all these monitors, and he plays Minesweeper. Wow.
Look, I get this whole working from home, but I'm sure you can't, operate NORAD from home. I'm quite sure about that.
No, I don't think so. Some people
You
try,
know,
I think. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need. I have 3 monitors, and that's enough. Yeah,
that's
I just,
cool.
I just need a 43 to 49-inch widescreen though. That I can get rid of all my monitors, right? Be down to one. And I can say I only have one monitor. It just happens to span my entire desk. Uh, so
Awesome.
so we covered your start of your
Mm,
career with the game counselor job, and now
yeah,
you're making it on Twitter with the game rooms, and you have a collection of your own.
yeah.
You mentioned your wife when you were at the event. How does your wife feel about your well, we don't want to say obsession yet. We're not going to go that far. We're going to say your hobby.
Um, well, we're just filing the divorce papers now.
Oh shit. I'll try to edit that out. I'm not editing
No,
that out. We're leaving that in.
no, no, she's really supportive. Because uh, with with all my stuff, I got my room. And uh, she loves her reality TV. I don't get it. I don't I don't honestly get it. I just it's not really reality, and I don't need to know about who's dating who and who's dumped who and who's cheating on who. It's just not my cup of tea. But but no, she's so supportive, and I'm so lucky to have Michelle. Um, it, it was really funny when we when I pointed out to her that when the numbers were increasing on Twitter, and I said, we're going to be on a panel on PAX, and uh, she said, I remember when you got on Twitter and you said, oh, just see how it goes, you know, nothing big will come of it. And now here we are at PAX in front of an audience talking about what we did, and people interviewing me around the world and all that. And I find this uh, very humbling, to be honest. But it wouldn't mean a thing if I didn't have my wife's support. Because we met up about 13 years ago. And the way we met was quite quirky. So back then, when everything was online dating and that, and I just came out of a terrible relationship. I'll put it to you this way: I was literally on my deathbed. I came out of life support after 4 or 5 days, and my girlfriend at the time literally dumped me on the bed. She
Wow.
said she had all this shit, yeah. So I won't go into the intricacies of it all. And she kicked me out of the house. She said, when you get out of hospital, I'm not going to look after you. So I went back up home. And oh god, you can imagine how I was feeling. I'm like, what the hell happened to you? So, and I was feeling sorry for myself, getting really upset, and I thought maybe half the drugs that I was taking weren't making me think clearly. So I literally took myself off half of the drugs, half the painkillers of that, because I was taking about 10 different painkillers, because I literally had a ventilator down my throat. What happened, I had an operation. I busted my ankle in 3 places. And during the operation, everything went south. I started doing a Jimi Hendrix and started choking on my own vomit. So I filled up my lungs with vomit, and I was working off quarter of a lung. So that's why they had to put me on life support. So anyway, I couldn't even brush my own bloody teeth. That's what it was like. So,
Wow.
yeah. So anyway, I went up back home, feeling sorry for myself, got myself off the drugs. I thought, no, well, let's start anew. And yeah, me and Michelle met online, and I still had my plaster cast on my ankle. Yeah, I met her. I met her that night down at down what we call Docklands here in Melbourne, and I I literally went home with her that night, and we never have separated. I said to her as I was taking her back to her car, I was saying, "I'm sorry I can't hold your hand." She goes, "Oh, why is that?" I said, "Well, I've got me bloody crutches on, haven't I?" So I couldn't hold her. Yeah, but, no, she's been so supportive in anything that I do, and um, she has a good laugh with me. You know, with some of the things that some people have said online about me and that, and and she likes that. You know, it doesn't interfere with her life so much, and also we still do our things together because I know like there's time for Twitter, there's time to do podcasts and that, but it's also very important that you spend a lot of time with your family as well. Now, you young kids um, may not realize that now, but it will become apparent when you start raising a family. And look, there's a lot of followers out there that have had children and they're still doing their streaming. So hats off to you all that have done that.
Exactly.
That's amazing. But yeah, you gotta separate your time. You gotta have your personal life. You gotta have your hobby, if you want to call it that, your interests. Um, just make sure you get your balance right. You can't do too much of one thing, or else you may end up a little bit crazy doing too much gaming. Maybe
I think
you
that
might be right.
I think that's a true statement.
Yeah.
I know from personal experience. The funny thing is, too, my wife's name is also Michelle.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, wow.
yeah, that's
Well, we're
interesting.
twinning. Is your name?
But I mean, you have definitely have an interesting story, um, from start to finish. This interview has been a blast. Learning about where where you started in the gaming world to where you are now with sharing the game rooms and sharing the battle stations, which as a PC and a tech guy, I always find awesome and interesting, and looking what other people have done with their setups, and I sit back and
Yeah.
go, I need to do something with mine to make my shit look better because my shit's random and stuff everywhere. But hey, I make small efforts here and there. I'll get something eventually, but. I'm glad you found a passion. I'm glad that your wife is extremely supportive. You seem to you have a great attitude towards everything, and I can't thank you enough for the second I messaged you on Twitter. You stepped right up and was instantly interested in doing this, and I thank you like a million times over. Wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
Sharing your interesting story with me and my listeners. Is
Oh,
there
no.
anything I know right now with the lockdown and stuff? I know it's hard for event things and stuff to go on. Is there anything you have coming up in event wise, or anything interesting that you want to share, or leak, or
Um,
spread some rumors about yourself, maybe?
um, oh God, is anything coming up? Um, Not at the moment. Yeah, we're supposed to be getting some news today in Melbourne that they're going to lighten some restrictions. So what that is, I don't think it will be dramatic. It will be just little baby steps coming out of the lockdown. But we haven't really got anything planned. Everything has been on hold. I think because we were going to be part of PAX. We were going to do some panels again this year at PAX Oz, but because of COVID, we just haven't been able to do it. So everything has just been a big question mark, especially here in Melbourne. So for me personally, I'm just going to keep on doing what I can do with the little time that I have. And I feel look, I feel so sorry because I have all these followers, and I wish I really wish I could do more right now. But because of my job and because I work with unemployed people and COVID and so many people have lost their jobs, I am just working flat chat, and it's not allowing me to do the things I have what I want to do. One is I want to do streaming. I really do want to do streaming. Time doesn't allow me to do that. The second thing I really want to do is more creative posts. I'd have to say thank you, Twitter, for bringing out scheduling, because I tell you what, without that, I wouldn't be able to do those posts to be released at certain times of the day. I can get do all my jobs in, say, 3 hours, but it allows me to schedule out the posts at a certain time. I don't have to be awake at 2:00 in the morning to set out a post. So I'd really like to do more, but when things start lightening up, and my job gets a bit easier, then you guys all know about it. That's for sure. Yeah. So yeah.
All right.
Keep watching.
Like I said, thank you a million times over. This was very entertaining. I enjoyed every minute of it. You've been more than accommodating. I know, like I said, it's still like a lot of people, and even myself, realize that we're recording this on my Saturday night at 9:15, and it's your Sunday morning in Australia. It's still mind numbing. So anyone that's listening, here, wrap your head around that little tidbit of information. Tim's from the future.
I am,
but he plays retro games. I don't know if there's. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to take of that, but all the Tim's Twitter link is going to be down below, and I recommend you jumping on and following this gentleman and looking at some of his amazing posts. Like I said, he's shared some pretty incredible retro gaming rooms. If that's your thing, for sure, it's definitely interesting. And
yes.
Feel free, if you have any questions, to drop Tim a comment on his Twitter, and on this video. If I see them and you don't get to Tim's Twitter, or if you don't have Twitter, drop it on YouTube. I'll get it out to Tim, and I'll answer you back. We'll find a way to get you answers if you have questions. And like I said, this podcast goes on my YouTube. It goes up on SoundCloud. It goes up on Spotify. Every link that I can get it on, it goes, and I'll be spreading it everywhere for everyone to get a listen to Tim and myself go on like two fools.
And don't let the number of, like, I have thousands of followers. Don't think I act like a person with thousands of followers either. As you said, like, if you got any questions, be free to DM me, and I'm more than happy to answer anything there for you. I'm very approachable. Even though I'm very far away,
as I can attest to for this incredible interview that we just went through, and the first time meeting and talking to Tim has been a joy for me, and hopefully it's been a joy for you. So as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Sega.